Alex, good to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about the film world right here in Chicago. Cinespace has been the center of it. I mean, this is really the last couple of years. It has just been all about Cinespace. So how are you handling what's happening right now with the pandemic?
In the beginning, it was scary. I mean, March when everyone just disappeared, it was like a movie here. I mean, there was half-eaten sandwiches. There was like half cup of coffees. I'm like, what the heck?
Like a horror movie.
Yeah, what's a horror movie? I was like, geez, what the heck? So it was shocking. And then, I don't know, you're used to having 10 to 15,000 people walking around here. And I love walking to campus 2-3 times a day and saying hi and seeing what's going on at the studio. And then it was just me and my two brothers walking around in, almost 2 million square feet with just 3 guys walking around. It's empty, and it's like it's a shocker to you when you start worrying. You start thinking, "Oh, is this a month? This away? It's only going to be 2 months," and then the realization starts coming in that this is going to change for a long time, and it was a struggle. There's no doubt about it. And the good news lately, I'd say in the last 30 days, the shows are starting to, they're all hiring COVID specialists. Fargo, which is we're so happy they opened up offices about a month ago, and they're set to start filming on Monday, which is a huge leap for us because if that goes well, I think everyone else is going to start to follow.
Right.
NBC, Dick Wolf, all 3 shows, offices, they're here right now trying to get ready to start shooting late September, October. And Disney Empire just started Monday, bringing in people to start taking down the Empire sets because they've been sitting up. There's been no one here, It's amazing
to think about that. How much of your job turned from managing all of the different projects that are in here to managing the fallout, managing the fact that, you got to be on the phone with Dick Wolf's production company or on the phone with Disney to schedule what's going to happen next.
Yeah, it really ended up being a total COVID operation. I mean, not to be, no pun intended, but it was COVID operation. Like, all the calls were just about, hey, how do we open up again? And for us, the studios were concerned about the common areas because that's what things like temperature control. Now, if you come on the lot, they check your temperature. Dispensers, we put dispensers everywhere around the studio. We hired more people than ever now to just clean. So where there's bathrooms, before let's say they hit the bathroom every hour, well, now they hit it every 10 minutes. The hallways, with door handles, we got guys constantly wiping them down. It's it's a whole different world right now, and what really makes it hard, I'll tell you, is on a personal level because I'm so used to walking around the stages and talking to people. Right now, it's really, hey, stay in your bubble, So I kind of I'm staying in my office, not going out as much. I think I think everyone's just being extra careful right now.
Yeah. We're going to have to quarantine for 2 weeks after this interview. I wonder about how that's changed your approach to the business because you're a very network-oriented guy. Like you said, you like to walk from place to place. You like to get in front of people, face-to-face, the crew, the production. So how has it changed when you can't have that tactile, that visceral experience?
Yeah, you go crazy. That's what you do. So, it's like now it's more phone calls with Los Angeles. Not as much walking around, obviously, around the stages yet. But it's really planning. We're constantly planning. We're always on the phone with the studios in LA, which it's been really nice to see is the studios are really, it's together. Everyone's gotten together. It's not, Disney's doing opposite of what AMC's doing. Everyone is working together to try to get through this. And it's going to change the business. I mean, filming days are going to be long. There'll be more filming days involved, where before, let's say to film an episode might have been 5 to 7 days. I think now it's going to be realistically more 8 to 12 days.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think everything's going to take a little bit longer. And locations, every show has a location scout whose job every day is to read the script and go find those locations, right? And make sure we have them, make sure we're insured for them, make sure you talk to the local alderman, make sure. And I think you're going to see definitely in the next 12 to 18 months, more script writing. They're going to be writing scripts saying, hey, keep it in the stages, which makes sense because what's going to happen is, even if you're a restaurant guy before, it sounded great to have a famous TV show come in and rent your place and you make a couple dollars and you can put the signs everywhere. But now that guy might say, you know what? I don't want to take this. I don't want to get any issues right now. Let me just.
Does that has to be an opportunity for you, because with the space that we have here at Cinespace and all the different places, there's going to be more of a market to get on a stage, right? I would assume that people who were like, I'm just going to shoot remotely, I'm not going to, now they're looking for stage work. So there's an opportunity in this, in the rough, if you will.
Yes, there is. No, they're already talking about like Chicago Fire, maybe talking about building the firehouse set on the lot here. We have a couple of apartment buildings that we bought over the years our plan was to rehab them. But now some of the shows are renting them, saying, hey, we'll take this whole apartment building and we'll take it for the next season, and it's ours. So they have full control of it again. Control,
Yeah,
right?
Right.
They want to control their environment right now, especially the next 12 to 18 months until we really see, hopefully the vaccine comes out. And
you've been involved with film for a long time. And when you think about control and you say controlling environment, how important is that to essentially for a film production company to come in and control that and to be in a position where they are able to creatively do the job from start to finish in control?
Well, I think actually why we're so successful is because we have such a large facility here that gives them so much different opportunities to control their environment. Lots of parking. If you look at regular, let's say, mill spaces at studios in LA or New York, they're 3,500 square feet. They're really they're contained. Here we give them 10,000 square feet. We have more space. Gives them more ways to. I mean, they'll take their mill shop not only to build sets but to film. They might have a scene that's in that type of look. Like if you watch a show, especially, the Dick Wolf shows, they use this facility: stairways, elevators, rooms, tenants' rooms. Like we're in Keslow Camera right now, you and me. But this has been used in filming. So it's really, it's a big part, I think, of why the studios come here, because what it does for them is it saves them money. So if you're going to shoot a scene in a stairway and they got to go, imagine now, it sounds easy. Yeah, go to that building on Lake and Ogden and use a stairway. Well, you got to have 400 people there. There's 50 trucks. You got to feed them there. And when you can do it here, it saves them enormous amounts of money. And that's why the facility here, I think, more and more every year just keeps getting busier and busier.
This has been such a, you say what you will about the pandemic and March, but take us to May and June when it started to feel like it's back. I remember phase 4 or phase 3, and we started talking about these phases and production, not just here, but in LA and New York was already having conversations about how they get back, but then they had to stall and stop because of upticks and outbreaks and things like that. So how frustrating has it been to be on the precipice to start back up?
Yeah, well, you know what, I'll tell you, I for us in the film industry, I give credit to the governor and the mayor for really taking this stuff seriously, because in the long term, it helped us. Fargo shooting on Monday. My family in Toronto, who has Cinespace in Toronto that runs it there, they're not filming on Monday. They're not filming next month. And that's in Canada where the numbers are low. So I give them a lot of kudos. Georgia, which was a big film industry, except for Tyler Perry, because he has apartments he's able to make his dome.
He's got a bubble.
Right. Nobody else is filming there. So I give a lot of credit to the governor and the mayor for when people are kind of like, really, is this that? They put a squash to it. And then the mayor, when she spoke in May about her 5-point plan, number 3 was getting the stages back and going, because luckily she understands that it's not just people coming to work, it's the hotels, it's the tourism, it's all these people renting cars, going to dinners. And that's what this film industry has been under. Now the city and the state really understand it, that it's not them coming in to rent a stage. It's all the money that they're going to spend, and immediate spend right away.
Wow! And
it's so good for the city and the state. We've been when we opened up in 2011. I believe in 2010 it was a $25 million a year spend, the film industry. Well, now we're heading to almost $750 million. And that's real numbers, and that's not even that's the initial spend. That's not the 2-3 ply. That's not counting that the director's wife went and bought a purse or that's. So I can only imagine if you 3 or 4 times that you're talking a $5 billion industry.
And obviously the city knows that, the state knows that, because over time it used to be a film office that was trying to get a movie to shoot here.
Right.
But we're way past that. Now we're at the point where the industry, and I guess the question is just, as we look at the film industry is it at the point where it's that you would consider the film and production industry in Chicago one of its main industries? I mean, because you're talking about, this is a meat and potatoes town. This is a factory town, a textile town. It also has done a lot with tech is coming back, and the former mayor used to talk about that. Do you consider this a film town?
Yeah, you know what I call this? I tell people all the time, I said, this used to be a place that manufactured steel. Now it's a place that manufactures content. And content is one of the biggest growing industries in the universe, and we're really just at the beginning of it. I mean, we were talking a little bit earlier, you and me, when the show Boss, which I still consider one of the greatest shows ever. I mean, the only reason that show is not on is because then it was still that Starz, HBO, Showtime. There was no Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, all these other Quibi now. I mean, nothing was there. So now with all this, I mean, there's just not enough. There's just not enough stages. I mean, here we are in Chicago with 35 stages. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and they're all full. The studios have not left the stage, and I'm turning away business. And we're in this middle. Can you imagine what's going to happen in 12 months when things are normal? And right now, people laugh. They're like, "Man, I'm tired of watching Magnum PI and Heart to Heart again." There's just nothing to watch.
Do you think there will be? I mean, it's a great point to say that the stages are filled. Do you think that as production ramps back up, there will be more? That we'll start to see television shows and films out, because that's a big fear for a lot of consumers, that it's going to dry up and it just will be reality shows. Right?
No, there's so much coming. I mean, it's. I can just tell by the phone calls I'm getting, and me and us as a family business, we are very aggressively looking at a couple locations to build new stages, to expand, because it's here. I mean, and when it comes, it's going to come. And I try to tell a lot of people around that are depressed, that are in our industry. I'm like, hey, we'll be one of the ones that when it goes, it's going to go. It's not going to be a slow build up, in Hollywood now, they need to get content out. It's a serious issue for them. Advertisers want us, spend. Everyone wants to start getting this ball.
So what do you do? I mean, are you at a point where in this weird time, this economic uncertainty, that you're an industry that needs to grow, that needs to get bigger? You got to take some of these other buildings and start clearing it out?
That's exactly what I mean. Here, like I said, 35 stages, all full. And you got studios calling, asking for space, even as for 2021. They're like, hey, if you had 3 stages now, we'd like to sign a contract and get ready. And I said, I don't have it right now. It's
Can you imagine that, though, being a guy who's been in this business, talking about 2011?
Yeah, no, I can't imagine it. No, I can't. I still can't believe it. We talked. I was in the real estate business in 2007, and that demolished me and put me in the bankruptcy, and I got evicted from my home, my wife and kids, and I got into this. My uncle Nick, who had Cinespace in Toronto for 32 years, saw an opportunity and came and helped me purchase the one building first, and then he says, "Well, you know what? This is good." And all of a sudden, we bought the second building, the third, and they ended up getting almost 2 million square feet of space over here, and it's all full. And sometimes that's a movie in itself. This has happened here.
It's a Chicago history story.
Right,
Ryerson Steel here. I mean, this is an area of Chicago that many know very well and would never know that how much Hollywood production is happening right here.
Yes, no, absolutely. Yeah, Ryerson Steel, which still owns the oldest business license in Chicago from the late 1800s. And Ryerson Steel, at its highest point, had 5,000 people working here. And I tell that people with pride, because 5,000 people was a big number to have a factory. And here, in the last 5-6 years, you don't fall anywhere below 10,000, as much as 15,000 people work at any given time on the lot here. So it's kind of neat that it's almost 2 to 3 times what Ryerson was doing. We're doing here, manufacturing content and not steel. It's a lot. It's a lot of history here with Ryerson, and then hopefully this will be a long history with Cinespace.
As we think about the future, and as you think about the future of your business, you also have to think about the future of this industry. If there are so many different streaming options and places that content can be consumed, do you have to partner with the city? Do you have to partner with the other agencies that are involved, the casting agencies, other places like that, to get a game plan, to almost think about what's the plan for the next 10 years?
Yeah. So, there's no doubt that the most important thing in our business is the state. If the state got rid of the Illinois film tax credit for any reason, this place would empty out.
Really?
Oh yeah. It's the nice thing about Illinois is that it has it's called a below the line incentive. So in other words, states like Michigan, Iowa, Louisiana, which had an above the line incentive, which were very, Michigan in 2011, 2012 was a $2 billion industry for 1 year. But the problem with that incentive was if Tom Cruise would come shoot a movie in Michigan and he was paid $20 million, well, then 40% of his salary came out of the Michigan taxpayers.
Oh.
Our incentive here, which I think has worked so great with Governor Quinn, who was a Democrat, Governor Rauner was a Republican, loved it, and now Governor Pritzker supports it, is that we tell Hollywood, hey, we're not covering Tom Cruise's salary or Tom Hanks' salary. You hire Illinois people, we'll give you a 30% tax credit. Not money, we give them a certificate, a tax certificate that they then have to sell. So we don't actually give cash.
Right.
You don't want to use, you want to buy lumber, you got to buy it from an Illinois company. So we almost force the studios to spend their mony in our state.
At a discount rate, though.
At a discount rate, and it works.
Right.
And that's first and foremost. I mean, if the incentive disappeared, I mean, I'd have 1,000,008 square feet of storage facility here. It would be ugly. And then you need the city. I mean, the city's another big part because street closures and help with that. The Chicago Film Office, the Illinois Film Office and Chicago Film Office really have to be the lead with us. And then what we've done here is president of HBO came here once. He says, "Man, I love, we have Cinespace Lighting, Keslow Camera, Claire Simon Casting, Animation Company 321. We have, I'm trying to think, I have more, DePaul University. Like, we've made it kind of like a mini Hollywood here.
Right.
And that is one thing they've said, no one in New York or LA has done what you've done here. It's come back to them.
And I've covered the industry long enough to know that the knock on the Chicago film industry early on was that you couldn't do all of it here.
Right.
You could shoot it for a set, maybe you can get some actors or whatever, but you'd have to send everything back to Hollywood, so it was an extra cost on top of it. And so you're absolutely right. To be able to put it all together and package a little mini Hollywood, that has to be not only I would say interest of Hollywood, but it's lucrative for Hollywood.
Very lucrative. They love it, and that's why and what they're finding out too is we're starting to eat New York's lunch because New York has become very complacent, very expensive. And I'm here when I go to I go to LA a couple times a year and meet with the studio executives, and I go, "How's it going?" They say, "Man, we just want to keep writing scripts that are written for New York," and we're just like, "Hey, can put in the Willis Tower there, put in a Wiener Circle. Like, we want to make it Chicago because we're finding out that the cost savings, and it's not it's the cost of the camera, the stages, the closure of the streets, and doing business. They told me New York is just so difficult comparable to Chicago. So, I mean, we really collectively, it's not just Cinespace. I mean, everyone from the labor unions to the stages to the cameras, the lights, the city, the state, everyone kind of got together and said, hey, let's bring this business back. And it's not about, let's just get one big movie a year like Batman and that's going to feed the year. Now it's, look, man, you're getting the union, the IATSE union here. I mean, when Boss was here, you'd walk around and I tease Mark Hogan, the president. I'm like, man, it looked like an old person's home, and now, I mean, all it is a bunch of 20-some-year-olds in this business. I mean, it's really rejuvenating.
Will it, as this grows, will it attract production-minded kids who want to be in production, who want to be in creatives to Chicago to be part of it?
DePaul University, which is a great, I always, because they have a small little part of their film campus here. The great news I heard last year from the president was the only profitable school on DePaul's campus was the Film and Digital School. And it was the first time ever that they had so many out-of-state people coming to DePaul to get into their film program. DePaul, up to 5-6 years ago, wasn't even a top 100 film school. Well, now they're a top 20. And they say Hollywood Reporter, when they did their list, they said one of the main reasons is they're on the Cinespace lot. So these kids are getting involved just by going to lunch, going to the bathroom, talking to a guy, hey, what are you doing?
Right.
And the president of Statement from DePaul, last time I saw him, says, hey, I'm mad at you. I said, why? He says, the kids aren't graduating. He says, they're getting jobs before they graduate. Right. I said, let me tell you something. In this business, that's not normal. It's a good problem to have. People hear that, you're going to get more kids coming. So I'm really happy with the way we're getting these. It used to always be, you go to school in Chicago, you got to move to New York or LA. And it's good to see that it's not happening. I mean, Keslow Camera here has hired a couple DePaul students that are now working for Keslow. Like, it's here. You know what I mean? And it's exciting to see that it's and it's to me. I really believe it's just the beginning. I think we're really just going to start catching our stride as soon as we kind of get over this COVID.
Well, that's a great place to kind of wrap. Is just the idea that we're not out of the woods yet. COVID continues to be a problem for all industries, for the film industry, for all sorts of industries across the globe. When you think about the fact that it's coming back online, you mentioned Fargo and all the other companies, and that's great. How guarded do you need to be, and how ready do you need to be flexible that something gets in the way of that?
Yeah, I'm guarded. I'm flexible. I'm holding my breath all next week to make sure it goes well. What I love to see, at least with Fargo, they got the testing site. People get tested every day. They've put in a lot of, again, I give kudos to these studios. They're putting their money where your mouth is. They're really concerned about the cast and the crews, and you see it with, every desk at these shows now, picture, there's hundreds and hundreds of people with their desks. They've put plastic coverings around it, and built in very nicely, and they have every show here has testing every day, to make sure. So they're doing all the right things, and if my fingers, I just hope it goes well, and we don't have to. In my mind, I think if Fargo goes well, because they only have 2 episodes left, I think we're going to be just fine. And then I like to always be a worst case scenario guy, and if that doesn't go well, then I think 2020 is going to be a tough year I don't know if we're going to see much filming in 2020.
Well, I wish you good luck, and I hope that it works, because it's such a great thing for Chicago to have this production house here, and it's a pleasure to talk to you, Alex.
Thank you very much. Always great to see you. Thank you.